And we're back. You're listening to Community Focus right here on WPGC 95.5. I'm your host, News Affairs Director Guy Lambert. D.C., Maryland, Virginia. By a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the Studio Theater? Well, you see, the Studio Theater is dedicated to producing the best in contemporary theater. Their restless, innovative spirit generates an uncommonly rich and diverse body of work encompassing provocative new writing from around the world. Now they plan to premiere a new play. It's entitled Sucker Punch, and it follows the life of two young boys who, well, they face the trials and tribulations of growing up in London while trying to box. And you throw race into the mix? Well, we got us a good play. Here to tell us all about it are Mr. Sheldon Best and Mr. Emmanuel Brown, both of which are actors. And they, well, as you heard me state, they acted the play, and they're kind enough to join us this morning right here on Community Focus. Gentlemen, truly a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us.
This is really cool. First of all, I got to tell you, I'm jealous. I always wanted to be an actor when I was a kid, and now y'all are doing just that. How cool is that?
I feel like I have the best job in the world. No offense.
Yeah. No, you actually probably do.
There are times where I felt like I wanted to be a radio announcer, so hey, there's always room for jealousy.
Well, let's trade for one
always
day.
Greener.
No doubt. Folks that are actually hearing about the play Sucker Punch for the first time, you heard me touch on it, but either one of you all can elaborate. What's the play all about?
Sheldon?
The play, as you said, follows the life of Leon and Troy as they grow up in 1980s London, and they are schoolboys who broke into a boxing gym, and they end up becoming boxers. They train as boxers, but their lives outside of the world of the boxing gym is also affected. The race riots that happened in 1981 and 1985 in London are a big presence in the play, and they affect the relationship between these two best friends who are like brothers, and it's something that kind of drives them apart. And you follow the life and journey of Leon as a boxer, and then how Troy kind of comes in and out of his world, and how they navigate their relationship together, and how they come together and drift apart, and it's really great.
It sounds somewhat complex, and I got to be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to see it now. Well, before we signed on air, you were telling me a little bit about it off air, and I said, wow, this sounds really interesting. When you first read the script, what came to mind?
For me, as far as the riots go, I was a little too young to remember or even know about the riots in London in the 80s, but it made me think of the Rodney King riots over in California, because I was old enough to remember that. And just reading the play, I kind of got taken into the world of the characters much more than anything else. That was the thing that stood out to me the most, was the richness of the characters and their lives and their motivations and their feelings and their thoughts and all that sort of thing. So that's the thing that I found most striking about the writing of the play. It's so well written.
Yeah.
And in reading the play for me the first time, what stuck out was the way that once it starts, it is a roller coaster. Even in the moments that it slows down or that it kind of levels off, it's still building, like when you're climbing in a roller coaster.
Right.
And so there's never a moment where you get to sit back and go, oh yeah, I'm watching a play. You're so invested in the lives of these characters, like Manny said, and in the story of the play, that it's a thrilling ride from start to finish.
And as you made mention earlier, both characters, well, you embark on boxing, if you will. I would assume that, well, you have to know how to box if you're going to be playing a boxer. How did that work out?
It helps. It comes in handy, that sort of thing. But I'm sorry, what was your question again?
How did you actually make that happen in regard to boxing? Did you have to learn how to box, or did you already know how to throw the 1 and 2s, if you will?
The Studio Theater got us a boxing instructor, Gary the Kid Stark Jr., who is a professional boxer, an amazing guy. And he took us through all the basics and, jumping rope, pad work, focus mitts, all that sort of thing. So we worked with him for a while. We worked with our fight choreographer, Rick Sordelay, and his associate, Christian Kelly Sordelay. And after we built the basics of boxing, they started working with us on choreography and how to sell the boxing to the audience, because it can't be, like I've said in other interviews, it can't be too realistic, or else you might as well watch a boxing match.
Right.
But it has to be theatricalized. It has to be somewhat presentational, something that's more interesting in a different way than just an actual boxing match.
So did either one of you accidentally hit the other, maybe with a punch that you were throwing? And
we still do.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to see that.
We tag each other, but we're always making sure to take care of each other and to make sure each other's safe, checking in with each other. I mean,
right,
the audience is not gonna be watching the show going, oh my gosh, I'm worried about actors getting hurt. They watch the show and they're watching this theatricalized boxing match where everything is getting thrown. I mean, yesterday's audience, you heard people literally gasping and saying, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
out
it
loud.
was incredible. I mean, it was,
and at least when we do tag each other, at least it looks real.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, they're like, wow, it looks so real. It's like, that's because I ate that.
It's because I actually punched him in the face.
Now, the play itself is based in London, so I would assume you would have to have a London accent of some sort.
Yeah.
Is that correct? How did that happen?
So we worked for a long time on that because obviously when you get a play and you read it and you realize that it's set in London, you're like, okay, for this audition, I'm going to have to work on that. And so from the time that you audition, you're working on that.
Yeah.
And then from the time that you get cast, you're continuing to work. So, just working on our own, watching movies for research. And then when we got into rehearsals, we started working with our dialect coach, Ashley Smith, and his assistant, Caroline Clay. And so they worked with us on the specifics of the dialect, which are very, very rich because our characters were first generation Brits born in London, but our parents are from Jamaica. So it's that mix of the West Indian and London dialect. And then add on top of that, the characters change over the 8 years that pass during the play. So my character, for example, he gets closer and closer to the white trainer. And that white trainer speaks with a Cockney accent. So my accent kind of evolves from the Jamaican London dialect in the beginning of the play to a Cockney sound by the end.
Oh, wow.
And Troy's, Manny can talk about.
Well, my character, at a certain point in the play, he leaves London and goes to the United States. And he comes back later on in the play. During that time is when we have our big battle at the end. But I've spent a lot of time in the United States, and when I come back, my British Jamaican accent is very Americanized. So those are things that we had to worry about trying to layer on so that it's not too American or it's not still too British or in Sheldon's case, it's not too British Jamaican when it's supposed to be more Cockney. Right. So we had to really be conscious of those sorts of things when we were working on the dialects, which took a while because the dialects are all very specific. Did
you ever get lost? For example, when you were supposed to sound as though you were from London, maybe you started talking with a Jamaican accent or vice versa. How do you do that?
Well, I think, it comes with practice and you get a lot of time in the rehearsal room to play around with stuff. It's not necessarily set in stone. In the script, a lot of it is the way that it's written. You can tell when something's written in Jamaican patois, for example. So you know what kind of, to lean more towards that dialect. However, sometimes it's written pretty standard, and you can make the choice as an actor based on what you're saying or what you're trying to do or what you're trying to accomplish in the line to, I'm really trying to connect with my best friend. So even though I'm usually talking with a Cockney accent at this point, I'm really trying to connect with him on a deeper level. Let me go back to that Jamaican roots and let me say it with a Jamaican accent. So sometimes, you might get a little lost, but most of the times with all the practice and the rehearsal time that we get to really make these decisions and work on that throughout the play to make it really convincing and really rich.
I got to tell you, I'm sold. I can't wait to see the play. Once again, it's entitled Sucker Punch. It's showing right now, if you will, at the Studio Theater. That's 14th and P, right in the heart of Logan Circle. I didn't know that theater was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. DC, Maryland, Virginia. I highly recommend you actually check out the play. It's running until, April the 8th. So there's still plenty of time for folks to pick up tickets. How would one go about to do so?
Well, you can visit the Studio Theater website, which is studiotheater.org, and that's THEATRE, the British way of spelling theater. And you can also call the box office at 202-332-3300.
Yeah, man. We highly recommend that you actually check out the play. Before we sign off, there are so many kids listening to this program right now, and they're saying, when I grow up, I want to be an actor. Kind of like what I used to say when I was a kid. Maybe you can give them some inspiring words, share some tips with them so that they can follow in your footsteps as well.
I would say take acting classes. That tends to help. Get involved in community theater. If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah. That would be my biggest advice.
Just go for it.
Keep the engine burning. I mean, just get together with a couple of friends and open a play and read it and read it out loud and just do it. There's plenty of opportunities to do it, even if you're not doing it on a professional scale. But those are the steps that sometimes you take in order to get there. You got to keep the engine burning.
Yeah, those are the steps we took.
Yeah.
Very well said. Once again, Sucker Punch now showing at the Studio Theater, 14th and P in the heart of Logan Circle from now until April the 8th. Mr. Sheldon Best and Mr. Emmanuel Brown, truly a pleasure to have you both on the show this morning. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us, Guy.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that will just about wrap up another edition of Community Focus. I'd like to say thanks to all of my guests this morning. Of course, thanks to you as well for listening. God willing, hey, we'll do it again soon. Until then, make it a great day. The Reverend Tony Lee is coming up next. It's WPGC 95.5.